Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. Make sure to hit like on your way in. We got a pretty condensed show for you today. This is not going to be a super long live. This is going to be very to the point. We're talking about a few things. We're talking about a major roster update as per Blake Murphy. Thank God. And I think you're going to be relieved when you hear about this as well. We're going to discuss a little bit of the Kawhi bombshell, specifically his trainer outing the Clippers and their nefarious, controversial, potentially illegal behavior in relation to Kawhi Leonard. And we'll break that down. And we'll also talk about the injury bug that is plaguing the Toronto Raptors, who will be without Emmanuel Quickly tonight, and RJ Barrett, and Bruce Brown, and Kelly Olynyk, and Jacoby Walter. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. This is a team that is really on the margins right now. And a game against the Philadelphia 76ers without Joel Embiid, without Paul George could have been a win, but it's going to be a hard fought win if they're going to get it tonight. So we'll break that down a little bit. And we'll also talk about moving goalposts because I think that is relevant to what the Toronto Raptors are going through. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so very much the first thing. This is huge, man. For those of you who've been following the Bruno Fernando experience in Toronto, he has not been good. He has not been good at all for the Toronto Raptors. Okay. Is going right back to preseason. And honestly, I wasn't too hyped about him at all. I mean, I realized that he is an NBA player and he's on a non guaranteed deal. Bruno Fernando's deal was supposed to be guaranteed on opening night, which was 2 days ago. And he played on opening night, so a lot of us felt like, "Oh, no, we're stuck with this contract, and the Raptors are probably not gonna waive him," even though the Raptors are under the luxury tax and probably could waive him with no consequence. Luckily for us, the Toronto Raptors have seen what we have seen, which is that Bruno Fernando has not really meshed very well in Darko's system, much less with this unit. There were a lot of turnovers. I think it would be unfair to scapegoat him for the loss in the last game, but it is absolutely impossible to ignore his role in some of the most losing lineups of the Toronto Raptors hosted on opening night. And so this is a good thing. So Billy Murphy says the Toronto Raptors have amended Bruno Fernando's contract before he made the team this week, per a source. His deal was originally supposed to be fully guaranteed if he made the team, i.e., on opening night. Sides agreed to remove the guarantee date. Thank God. So he's playing on a non-guaranteed deal still. The caveat here is he becomes guaranteed, I believe, on January 1st. So there's a lot of deals like this in the NBA right now. Shaolin Rasta saying Bruno is just bad. He's worse than Aaron Baines. Well, you didn't spend the whole mid-level exception on him. You didn't spend $6 million on him. So I think that the fact that you're comparing him to Aaron Baines and Kem Birch is actually a credit to him because he's on currently a minimum contract that is non-guaranteed. That is the fringe of the fringe. And if it lights a fire up his ass to get his shit together and be a much better competent big for us, that'd be great. And if nothing else, it means that the Toronto Raptors have a little bit of cap flexibility, also roster flexibility, because I do believe that trades for Chris Boucher and Bruce Brown are on the table right now. And again, the Toronto Raptors have maximum flexibility. If you caught the last few lives, you know that we're talking about taking a long term view on this team, right? We're talking about taking the longer vision, not panicking. Well, I think that it's important to realize that Bruno Fernando could be, a bit of a hindrance to making a deal in which you would have to eat his contract. But now it's good to know that any deal made between now and and January, if he's not a part of it, and you're taking back a 2-for-1 in a Bruce Brown deal, you can just outright waive him, and that is great. That's great. It also helps you in case you want to convert one of your two-way guys, which I mean, you may want to convert Jamison Battle if he ends up going nuts. You can give him a fully guaranteed deal and you can waive Bruno Fernando outright with no consequence. And then you can take someone into your two-way. There are a lot of decent free agents, man. Reggie Bullock is still a free agent. Per this moment right now, at this moment, Markel Fultz has not been signed. There are a lot of better players than Bruno Fernando. And by the way, the world is full of them. There's like 10 bigs in Europe that I would sign over him right now. So it gives the Raptors a little bit of roster flexibility, but most importantly, I think it allows them trade flexibility because in most cases, I believe that a Bruce Brown trade or a Chris Boucher trade would probably be a trade in which you are taking back more players than you're giving out. So moving on past that, good news is the Kawhi Leonard stuff. Okay, so there was a lawsuit. This was broken by Chris Haynes, and this is a lawsuit filed by Kawhi Leonard's trainer. And there's some interesting parts that pertain to the Toronto Raptors. We haven't really talked about it on this channel, but let's talk about it because the Toronto Raptors are no strangers to tampering. I would very strongly argue, and I believe the Toronto Raptors would agree, that the Miami Heat tampered to get Kyle Lowry. They also tampered to get Chris Bosh. And so if you're counting, that means 3 of the top 7 players in your franchise's history have technically been poached via tampering. And in the first 2 cases, the Raptors were compensated. If you recall, Chris Bosh was not just signed by the Miami Heat outright. The Raptors signed and traded him. There was a first round pick that just randomly came to the Toronto Raptors in exchange for that, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, turned into Ed Davis. So the question then becomes, do the Toronto Raptors have any grounds or precedents to demand compensation at this point for what the Clippers did in this deal? Let me read this out. Deny, deny, deny has been the modus operandi for the Clippers organization when confronted with tampering allegations following the NBA's fining of the Clippers for tampering with former head coach Doc Rivers, publicly likening Kawhi Leonard to Michael Jordan, an offense that pales in comparison to the Clippers' addition. Um, Per Article 35 of the NBA Constitution of Bylaws, no organization may directly or indirectly attempt to entice a player to join a new team while under contract with a different team. And this obviously was not a bylaw that was even entertained or obliged to by the Clippers. The Clippers' public displays of desire to bring Kawhi Leonard to its organization, including Clippers personnel reportedly personally attending 75% of Toronto Raptors games during the 2018-2019 season, tiptoed the line of unconstitutional tampering. Not really. If we really want to dig in, if the Raptors really wanted to push for an investigation into this, they would find that the Clippers absolutely tampered. And you know what? With an organization run by a billionaire owner who has no fear, but also no conscience, like a Steve Ballmer, I have no doubt that the Clippers tampered to get Kawhi Leonard on board. There's no chance in hell they waited till the free agency opened. And honestly, this already constitutes tampering. So again, uh, privately, the Clippers conduct and campaign to lure in Leonard leapt well beyond the bounds of an NBA constitution. Can you imagine if Masai Ujiri just randomly started showing up to every single Anthony Davis game, or he's just at the Lakers games all the time, then the Raptors managed to get Anthony Davis? It would be very, very suspicious. And that's exactly what Lawrence Frank and the Clippers did. Allegedly, according to a source, Lawrence Frank was in Ontario or in Toronto so often that he would have qualified for an Ontario health card. That is per the sources. Okay, let's move on. And well, first of all, what can the Raptors demand? I think precedents would be like, I think we need a first round pick for this. You know, if we're gonna sue you or if we're gonna really push for this, I think the league should compensate the Raptors for this. This is a franchise level talent. This is arguably at the time a top 3 player in the league. And for 75% of the games, he was being lured away from the team that he was on. I don't think that that's very fair. I don't think that's fair at all. So again, I'm not really one of those people who likes to defend billionaires from getting away with things. Okay, moving on to the main point of this live, which is goalpost shifting. Now, I just caught something last night, which is the league MVP, 3-time MVP, Nikola Jokic, and this particular play with the the Oklahoma City Thunder. And you know, for those of you who missed it, I broke down the entire night last night. You know, there were 4 games last night. We broke it down on live. So take a look at this play. So the first image, second image, third image, fourth image. Okay. So I noticed in the first image, Nikola Jokic is going up for a layup. He gets blocked, but of course he is fouled by Chet Holmgren. Nikola Jokic is very upset about this. He feels like he was fouled, so he's complaining to the referee. Now, obviously, Chet Holmgren decides to capitalize on this complaining and Jokic's clear lack of foot speed and or attention to him and streak down the court. I can tell you right now, as someone who watched this play broke this game open. Now, I want to say that this is bad body language by the three-time MVP slash champion slash best player in the league slash one of my favorite players of all time, Nikola Jokic. And I guess I got to thinking, with all the criticism that I've heard of Scotty Barnes bitching to the referees, complaining, bad body language, do stars have bad body language? So I decided to start thinking about it. And, I started to think about these losers like Steph Curry. Steph Curry is never going to win a championship. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Steph Curry, this loser, he is never going to win a championship ever in his life. This Nikola Jokic, this big blob, this Serbian, dude, he's never going to win a championship. This guy clearly, he's never going to win a championship. He's a loser. He's a complete loser. Okay, this is Kevin Garnett. For those of you who started following basketball in 2019, Kobe Bryant, he's a complete loser. My God, he's the biggest loser in the world. This guy, this dude, Michael Jordan, loser, complete loser. Bad body language, needs to grow the fuck up, man. These guys are trash. Thank you, Kemper. These guys are fucking trash. Here's the guy that a lot of people think are the best player in the league. Take a look at his body language. Oh my God, what a fucking loser this guy is. The Slovenian. Man, Europeans complain way too much. Okay, we need to talk about this, man. Look, I privately used to vent a lot about what I felt was bad body language from guys like DeMar DeRozan, right? Pascal Siakam. They would complain about calls, they would dive out of bounds, and they'd be like bitching at the referees, and they wouldn't get back in transition. The team would give up 2 points. But honestly, man, I got to tell you, I never heard one article, one complaint about, Pascal Siakam or DeMar DeRozan with their bad body language. Kyle was extremely animated. Kyle was like, if you piss Kyle off, man, I remember Kyle Lowry didn't talk to the organization for months. Kyle Lowry had his bags packed the entire year. It's funny how caring about what's going on with your team can make you a little mercurial, can make you a little bit heated, can make you a little bit animated, can make you a little bit disagreeable. I don't know. Right. I, but I feel like when people don't like you, if people already don't like you, they start to nitpick you. And I feel like that's goalpost moving, right? The last time I saw an athlete nitpick to death like Scotty Barnes, it was actually Vince Carter, right? It was Vince Carter. I'll tell you right now, we need to keep standards fair. I implore you, imagine if you went to the grocery store and you gave the store $20 for your $3 purchase and they handed you back 4 bananas. You'd be like, what's going on? Give me back my money. What's going on? Give me back my change. There's a reason we have a currency, because we need to keep things flat. We need to keep things consistent. So when we operate with different standards for people that we like and people that we don't like, or people that like us and people that don't like us, it can get really muddy really fast. It can get really weird. And frankly, it can be very biased. Scotty Barnes complains sometimes. I'll agree to that. Scotty Barnes has bad body language sometimes. I'll agree to that. Scotty Barnes has growing up to do. Which 23-year-old doesn't? My God. But the allegations of bad body language and loser mentality and he needs to fix his attitude and all that stuff, this has been brimming for years with Scotty, especially since his second year slump, right? Maybe maybe you're among the people that think, well, Rob, that's Michael Jordan and this is Scotty Barnes. That's Nikola Jokic, that's Scotty Barnes. This is Kobe Bryant and this is Scotty Barnes. Who the hell is he to complain? Well, he's not the only star to complain. And if you really want to nitpick it, every single star complains. They all complain. And you know why? It's partially because that's the nature of basketball. I complained when I played basketball. I complained. You don't think I was bitching about calls? I was. I'm not acting like I'm the beacon of, maturity, but that's normal. When it's not normal? When it really starts to bug you, it's when you've never played competitive sports. It's when you've never been in the heat of the moment. I remind you of a story that I shared on a previous live, so I'll apologize for those of you who, maybe have heard this. But it was Sam Mitchell and Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers phoned up Sam Mitchell and said, "How do I control this Kevin Garnett guy? He's like taking over my practice." And it was Sam Mitchell who said, "If you allow him to be himself, because he's not going to be anyone else, if you allow him to be himself, by the end of the year, everyone's going to be like him and you're going to win a championship." And that's exactly what happened. Kevin Garnett was notoriously loud. He was obnoxious. He was heated. He did a lot of things that a lot of people would consider unprofessional. And it's not unironic to me that Kevin Garnett has been a huge supporter of Scotty Barnes. I don't like when we move the goalpost. Scotty Barnes has exceeded any expectation that this media space had for him, that any of you may have had for him, that even I would have had for him going into year 4. I think most of us would have been very amazed, if not suspicious, if someone had told us that this project from Florida State, who was coming off the bench in 75% of his games at the NCAA level, would be an all-star by year 3. I think we would have said, wow, something miraculous must have happened. Either half the league died or this kid had a really solid work ethic. See, the problem is we judge the people that we like by different standards than the people we don't like. And that is not keeping things very consistent, right? So if I am going to, I'll give you an example and I'll hold myself accountable for this as well. For years, I complained that Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, and including Dennis Schroeder actually into this little pile of players that I created, did not necessarily answer post-game scrums. They didn't make themselves available for post-game availability after they had had a bad game in which they had played poorly and the team had lost. So the two things must be true. They must have played poorly and the team must have lost. If those two things were true, these guys were not going to the podium. They were just like, pass, go to somebody else, go to Garrett Temple, go to Thaddeus Young. So you would often see guys like Thaddeus Young, Chris Boucher, role players, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, potentially having to answer for really tough losses in which the Stars did not play well, in which Pascal Siakam had a 12-point game, or in which Fred VanVleet shot 2 for 14 or something like that. He's not going to the podium answering the questions about that game. I thought it was really amazing that Scotty Barnes was the player that put a brave face on, put his pearls on, and got in front of the media after the last game, because honestly, I don't think he played up to standards of a franchise player. I don't think he played up to his own standards. I think he was damn disappointed and he didn't hold it back. He said, "We got our ass kicked." I appreciate that. But I also appreciate the fact that as a 23-year-old franchise player, he didn't duck that moment. And that's worth noting. I think that's consistent. That's keeping the benchmark clear. You know what would be not that what would be moving the goalpost? What would be moving the goalpost would be to complain that Fred didn't do that, and then to excuse Scotty ducking it. To be like, well, Fred's a coward for ducking it, but Scotty's excused. No, we need to keep things consistent. So if you're going to complain about him, 23-year-old Scotty Barnes, who, clearly is a very passionate, very, very young player. If you're going to complain about him maybe bitching to the refs once a game, I needed you to keep that same energy 3 years ago when you weren't bitching about Pascal Siakam doing the same thing, holding his arms out egregiously, wondering where's the call. I need you to keep that same energy when you say that Scotty Barnes does not get back on defense one time because he's complaining to a ref. I need you to keep that same energy with DeMar DeRozan, but you didn't. So now you're locked in. You're locked in. So either you're a hypocrite or you're a hater. There's no third door here because you're not consistent. You need to stay consistent with this. And I think that it's important to realize that this is a good mantra for life in general. We should keep the goalpost consistent. Whatever the hell your barometer is for success, don't adjust it. Don't adjust it when things go better. Don't adjust it when things go worse. Just keep it as is, right? If information changes, like if there's a trade made or something like that, then by all means adjust it. But until that happens, you must keep things the same. You can't just be emotional about it. That would be weird, right? So that's what I'm going to say. is there's a lot of people in this media space that don't like Scotty. And I know that. And if you have ever not liked somebody, I mean, we discussed it on the panel just yesterday. Mars, Mars Talk Sports, shout outs to Mars. Love Mars. Mars is awesome. He was not super high on Reed Shepard. Okay. I was very high on Reed Shepard going into the draft. Mars is a Rockets fan. So now when Reed Shepard comes out in game one, Mars is panicking. Mars is like, yo, he won't shoot. And I'm like, chill. Reed Shepard's going to be just fine. There's a reason I'm not panicking and Mars probably is more panicked. It's because Mars didn't like him in the first place. And that's the difference. See, our anchoring biases carry us through life in ways that we don't realize. But it's very important to acknowledge those anchoring biases and say, when I don't like a person, I'm probably going to be way more likely to cover them negatively. Y'all don't like Scotty. A lot of people in this media, they don't like Scotty. They're gonna kiss up to him now because he's a franchise player. They're gonna say nice things about him because they have to, and they're gonna be alleged. They're gonna be y'all are gonna be friggin' blowing up their Twitter if they're unfair. So they got to just play nice. This is gonna be a very miserable time, and frankly, you'll see the second he struggles, the second he has a bad week, you'll see it. Oh, should have traded him for Kevin Durant when we had a chance. This is what we gave up Pascal Siakam for. Oh my God, Pascal Siakam had 27 points last night. You'll see it. You'll see it all the way. But I'm telling you to keep it consistent. Stay this through. If you need any reason to watch this team, please watch my previous live in which I said the Raptors are doing everything right. I have nothing but faith in this team. Tonight is going to be a tough task against the Philadelphia 76ers, a well-coached team by Nick Nurse. Tyrese Maxey is an all-star and a very good player. They have better players than you. The team that is coming into Toronto tonight is a better team than you. Kyle Lowry is a better player than Davion Mitchell. It's not close. He's a better player than Jamal Shed. It's not close. Whoever starts for you tonight, and I really hope it's Jamal Shed, just for my own jollies, just because I've been comparing him to Kyle Lowry, it would be such an amazing thing to watch that matchup. But regardless, I'm pretty sure Davion Mitchell gets the start. Jamal Shed probably gets 25 minutes off the bench, and we'll see what it looks like. Ultimately, that does mean that Jamal Shed is going to go head to head with Kyle Lowry coming off the bench. So that's going to be really fun. My point is, the Raptors have a really tall task ahead of them tonight, and it's going to be grind all season. Stick with it. The best thing that I came up with in the last live, and it's sort of funny because it was just very off the cuff, and that's just how I roll sometimes. But it was that, yes, this team does not look like the championship team that you followed and fell in love with, but the championship team you fell in love with once upon a time looked like this team. And I'm going to hold on to that. This is going to be a good season. If you want to look for the positives, you're going to find plenty of them. Can't wait for Jacoby to get back. Can't wait for RJ to start dunking on dudes' heads. If you haven't checked out the little Air Dick, the Grady Dick reel that we just released, it's really funny. I think it's funny. And, maybe pokes a few holes in people thinking that Grady Dick is just Doug McDermott. This team is going to be a very big force to be reckoned with. Some of y'all took issues in the comment section with me talking shit to Magic fans, Indiana fans, Cleveland fans, Detroit fans, because you're like, man, the Raptors are shit right now. How are you talking shit to all these other franchises? Stand on your nuts, man. And if you're a woman, I don't know, stand on your feet. Have some faith. Have some faith in this team. The same people who put together a championship roster in Toronto are the same people trying to put together the next championship roster in Toronto. I'm not afraid of Cleveland, LeBron merchants. I'm not afraid of Orlando, who had Shaq, Paolo, Dwight, and all these people. It feels so good. I'm gonna say this as the last thing before we get out of here. It feels so good to have had so many issues with this team and to spend so many lives like venting about this team, and to finally be able to just not have issues with my own team, like to not have issues with the team that I'm following, and rather to be able to redirect some of that vitriol and some of that animosity towards other teams and other fan bases. It feels fun. Talk shit, bro. Talk shit. This is like, I mean, it's not that serious. This is what being a fan is about. If you want to be all serious, go to the bank and pay your bills, right? That's what I'm talking about. Lance, stand on your nuts. Rob, 2024, absolutely stand on your nuts. All right. NBA a la Chilena saying salute, Pen. Keep doing your thing at PC. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll be on PC next week or the week after that. But yeah, I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Make sure to hit like on this video and make sure to check us out post game live tonight. Win or lose, we'll have you covered. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fine. Okay. And again, there's a lot of talent at the top of the draft next year. A lot of talent. So if this all goes poorly, salute. You get a really high draft pick. And guess who's picking that high draft pick? You know, one of my favorite scouts and one of my favorite trainers, Dorian Group, said if Cooper Flag goes to OKC, he's going to be an all-star. But if he goes to Toronto or Brooklyn, he's going to be a flop. He's going to be a bust. And I was just like, I had to correct him. I was like, dude, no chance. No chance. Nobody who's coming to Toronto right now is going to be a bust, right? Not a chance. All right. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later. And personally, I really hope that we get one of the few assets that the Clippers have left. I don't know. Maybe when this video goes live, tell me which team you'd rather be right now, Orlando or Toronto. That's been a big debate that's been going on Twitter. I'm very firm. 2 years from now, I'd rather be Toronto. Maybe right now, some of you feel like the Orlando Magic have a more optimistic future. But man, they picked Jet Howard over Grady Dick. Like, think about that, right? All right. I'll talk to you later. Uh, Cheyenne Sayed saying, you see Jeff Teague pod saying Raptors are the worst team in the league. Bro, Jeff Teague is hilarious. He's hilarious. He's awesome. He's a really good podcaster. He's made for this. Like, he's amazing for it, which is great. Do I agree that they're the worst team in the league? Hell no. The Raptors are not the worst team in the league. And honestly, to be completely fair, I still think that there's a chance that this team hits 40 wins. Yes, in spite of one loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, I still think it's possible to win 40 games. Just got to get healthy, man. Got to get healthy. That pissed me off. Why though? Who cares? It's just someone's opinion. Doesn't matter. All right, talk to you later. You know what? I guarantee you that Jeff Teague has watched fewer Raptor games than Bill Simmons. That is for sure. I'd rather be Toronto considering they've always been my top two teams. Salute Parker. Snafu saying, keep the lives, Rob. Always tune in. Appreciate you, man. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.